So good morning. Thank you for coming out today. It's a beautiful day in upstate New York, so enjoy that inside, I guess, all day today. But it'll be sunny again in a couple of weeks. So I'm John Baba. I'm a principal in Deloitte Consulting. I'm a ancient Syracuse grad myself, but thrilled to be back up here doing this case study challenge with you all today. I just want to make a couple of quick remarks, and the team will take you through what I think will be 2 days of fairly exciting engagement for you. Is in thinking about how these work and how you'll spend the next 24 hours, I think that you'll really come to enjoy what you're doing if you have a desire to move into the consulting arena. This is an actual case that we worked on. I know it well. These are actual challenges, issue sets, et cetera. So you'll be working on things that you will work on in a consulting arena. You will be working with people who you'll be working with in a consulting arena. So when you're meeting the team today or tomorrow and they're looking at the products and the way that you're working, like, this is exactly who would be working with you in this regard. These are members of our federal team down in Washington, D.C., and our state and local team up here in New York. So if you decide to pursue a career in the public sector or federal arena of consulting, the experience you're going to go through in the next 24 hours is kind of the experience that you're going to go through as you enter that arena. So take advantage of these talented folks as well. So the product in the case is the same, the people are the same, and I'll tell you that the stress and the pressure and the working dynamic is the same. We work in a very group-based dynamic on a regular basis. This is not a sport for individual solo artists. This is a team sport. If you enjoy that kind of camaraderie and that type of work environment, consulting is something I think you'll find very interesting. The next 24 hours will feel like being a consultant. They're not always till midnights and 11 p.m.s and all those kind of things, but it is a strenuous environment. It is an environment that will really challenge you intellectually, obviously as does Maxwell. And it's an environment that I believe you'll find very rewarding as well. So when you produce something that you've worked on in a stressful environment, you'll be very proud of it, and you'll see the results of that hard work show up with your clients. So without further ado, I'll have Kevin take us through the paces a little bit today and get you started. But I just want to welcome you all and look forward to working with you over the next 24 hours.
Hi, good morning, noon time. Nice to see you. In fact, I was here last year, and so I see some familiar faces. Good to see you again. I'm Kevin Arts. I'm a senior consultant in Deloitte's federal practice. I work with a variety of clients on some of their most pressing issues. Most recently, I'm working with the United States Postal Service, helping them manage some of their strategy transformation stuff, trying to get them back in the profitable side of the ledger. So we have a great case for you today. It's all about the Federal Rail Commission, and it is a transformational type opportunity. So I think it's going to really be a good opportunity for you to think outside the box, get creative, and come up with some exciting recommendations. So the agenda for today, we're going to review the case schedule. We're going to provide an overview of the case, some of the details about what you'll be asked to do. And then I'll kick it over to Jen, and she'll review some of the rules of the road, some of the expectations around the case challenge. We'll introduce the judging panel in more detail and address any questions that you might have. So the case schedule and deadlines are here, and we'll send this out for you, but just to give you a brief overview, right now we're kicking it off. From 1 to 11 p.m., you'll be doing case research. We'll also have a set time in there from 5 to 6, where you'll be able to interview both Jen and me, as we'll put on our client hats and play act. So that'll be a good opportunity to get that kind of face-to-face experience. And then presentations are due via email to Robin. Her email's there at the bottom. They're due at 11 p.m. We don't want you staying up all night. You're going to be working for a good solid chunk of time anyway. So please do send that and respect that deadline. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have an 8 a.m. kickoff with breakfast. The presentation rounds will start sharp at 9 a.m. and go to 10:30. We'll have the finalists announced. Then there will be a twist for those who make it onto the next round. That's sort of a play on the original case for those that are continuing. Lunch for the large group, it'll be something of a working lunch. And then from 2 to 3, we'll have those final presentations. We'll deliberate for 15 minutes as a judging group, and we'll come together as all of us to announce the winners, and we'll have a reception and network and just talk, kind of off the record anyway, with each other and make connections and so on. So to kick off the, let's see. Right. So the client for this case is the Federal Rail Commission. They are responsible for managing $8 billion in federal grants for the high-speed passenger rail program or entity. So the FRC is the federal agency that's responsible for rail projects, including the HSPR. You can read their primary objective there. It's to ensure a safe, secure, and efficient rail transportation system. For many years, the FRC had kind of toiled in the background of the other transportation agencies, particularly the rail or the air transport as well as the highway transport, given that there were, those were sort of the big ticket federal agencies when it came to transportation. But with the signing of the ARA, which is otherwise known as the stimulus bill in 2009, the FRC was given this great opportunity and a lot of money. They were tasked with launching and managing a new and efficient high-speed rail, passenger rail network in these special corridors, 100 to 600 mile corridors to connect communities across the country. So along with this new focus, this new mission, their budget was massively expanded. As you can see here, it went from $60 to $70 million a year to $8 billion a year. So, a whole new scope, a whole new mission, as well as a lot of the new means to get there. And then to set the context, it's currently March 2009. So they're grappling with this. How do we transform our agency, and how do we utilize these funds in the most effective way possible? Some additional background: state transportation agencies, regional associations of states, public agencies established by one or more states, and other associations responsible for providing intercity passenger rail are eligible for the grant funding. The FRC does not have a decision model currently. It doesn't know how to choose among who should get the funds for the high-speed passenger rail program. So it needs to come up with that decision model and award the grant, and how to award the grant money in a wise way. So the stimulus funds, there's a stipulation: the stimulus funds cannot cover the full cost of rail development. The people who are awarded the grants have to pony up a significant portion of the money as well. The FRC is expected to evaluate the matching funds contributed by the applicants. The states are planning to request money for upgrades to existing programs or to develop entirely new programs. So it can be a combination, either or. And as one of the president's major initiatives, and a lot of money is going towards this, there's a lot of scrutiny and attention. So you'll have to kind of bear that in mind as you're coming up with your decision model. So as far as an overview of the current passenger rail system, there's some facts and figures on here. There's 21,000 miles of track across 48 states. One of the major challenges that they have with respect to high-speed passenger rail development is that the majority of the tracks are not owned by the federal government. They're actually owned by private entities and other sort of nonprofit, potentially, organizations. So the federal and state governments have to work with these private entities with anything that they're going to do as far as this goes. The U.S. has a very low passenger rail usage rate. Part of that goes back to, again, the air transport and the vehicle transport being preferred methods of transportation. Some of the key stakeholders and roles as you're coming up with your decision model to bear in mind are Congress. One, they passed ARA. It's obviously a political environment, and this is a lot of money for a new major infrastructure initiative. That means that they are going to want to make sure that what is established and what where that money flows is reviewed with utmost scrutiny, and the requirements are very tight. State and local governments is another stakeholder. These entities are concerned with the availability of funding to advance their own programs, the existing programs. Environmental groups play a part here. Anytime you're building across terrain, you want to make sure that you're not disrupting the environment too much, or that the trade-offs are balanced and produce the highest good for the public. So you want to document and minimize those to the extent that it makes sense to do so. And then ultimately, you're accountable to the American people. This is, again, a large amount of money, a significant investment for the nation, and you will want to demonstrate the value to U.S. taxpayers. And it's sort of the double bottom line, both the public good as well as the cost effectiveness of the program. So your mission as Deloitte consultants for the 2 days, is to help create a decision support system for selecting these projects. Who should get the money? The decision support system should capture measurable, quantitative, and descriptive qualitative criteria that can be used to evaluate this. So you have to get both numerical and think about some of the sort of soft and fuzzies that you can build in and defend those soft and fuzzies in the model. And specifically, the FRC is requesting a decision support system that identifies and prioritizes 4 criteria, including but not limited to cost, schedule, jobs created, safety, location, or other things that your creative minds can come up with. You should outline potential impacts and barriers with respect to the decision model, including operational, political, and financial implications of the things that you come up with. You should list any critical assumptions that your team has made, and if needed, defend those assumptions. And then describe any of the key stakeholders and how you're addressing their potential concerns. While program analysis can typically focus on costs, of course, I just mentioned the double bottom line, so be aware of the public. And additionally, be sure to consider challenges to your decision support system, including criteria measurement challenges, policy implications, legislative constraints, implementation risks, and so on. So I think this is a great sort of challenge for this audience. I was at Maxwell 2 years ago, and I remember it's a great place for both the policy-minded and the folks that want to sort of turn policy into reality. So I think this is a great challenge on that front. So make sure to bring that forward in your presentations. To turn it over to the rules of the road, turn it over to Jen Tift.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm poking holes in your floor. That's probably not good. I'm sure some of my former tuition dollars can cover that. Really happy to be here. I might have met some of you last year as well. My name is Jen Tift. I'm a senior manager in our state and local practice. I actually started my career at Deloitte, though, in our federal practice, so I've seen both sides of our public sector offering, and I'm really happy to chat with any and all of you over the next 24 hours or so about that. So hopefully we can all interact at the reception tomorrow as well as beforehand. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about exactly kind of what we expect kind of from a mechanics perspective around this case. So Kevin gave you some really important details about the case itself. We're actually going to email these slides to you all with some supplemental information right after we get done here. So you're going to break up into your teams. We've selected the teams, so hopefully it's a good mix of people maybe you don't work as much with to really get the consulting simulation. And so you'll have all the material basically that you need to construct these slides. We do not expect, and we don't actually suggest that you try to do any supplemental research. If anyone is familiar with federal rail policy, you probably know there is no such commission called the Federal Rail Commission. So not that we've been too creative in renaming it, but we purposely did that, right? So we want this to be kind of a closed circuit environment. If you try to do additional research, you will not be able to complete this challenge by 11 p.m., right? So this is going to be a little bit of maybe a fiction to how we normally work, where we try to do incredibly exhaustive research, but we want to be realistic and know that you have a certain set amount of time to do this. So we're going to give you everything you need to do this. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? Okay, very good. So we're really looking for a few things with regard to this first round of the competition, which will effectively end at 11 p.m. today. Really soundness of the analysis and the related recommendations. So I think Kevin put it really well, right? You want to make sure all of your recommendations or suppositions are pretty well justified, and that can be, quantitative or qualitative in nature. And this is very, very similar to what you all are doing on a day-to-day basis here at Maxwell and any of the joint degrees that are represented. So definitely nothing out of the ordinary for you, but that's really what we're looking for, what we do as consultants. A key to that, right, is to state assumptions. So there are going to have to be assumptions that you make to do this, because we are giving you this closed universe of detail. So state those assumptions as you present out tomorrow and kind of build them into the details on the slide, right? The quality of the presentation is important, right? So I know you don't have a lot of time. We don't need to see, professional graphic design. We are looking for, clean, crisp, no typos, obviously, those kinds of things. So one trick of the trade is to have someone on the team, right, be like the QA person. make sure you do that, throughout your presentation development, but before you hit send at 11 p.m., just a good rule of warning. And actually use spell check. It surprises me how many new consultants that we work with that just don't hit spell check. And we see all kinds of crazy things. Finally, around the presentation itself, that is due to Robin at 11. Her email address is on that previous slide, I think. The presentations, for this round are going to be up to 15 minutes of actual presentation with a Q&A period. The Q&A period will not exceed 5 minutes. So, like I said, you can choose to use the whole 15 minutes or not as much, but target 12 to 15 minutes. We want to see the whole team present, so make sure you carve out discrete roles for everyone on your team to have a speaking role tomorrow. Okay, those are like the two really key things I think about that. Any questions? Okay. So, everyone here that you've met so far, right, are going to be part of the judging panel tomorrow. We're going to have some additional folks come in as well to help us with that. So I think John already introduced himself and Kevin already introduced himself. We have another director from our federal practice, Carol Swan, who's also an alum of Maxwell, coming in. And beyond my better judgment, have invited Derek Larson, who is a senior manager. He did not go to Maxwell, but he's a big friend of the program, a personal friend of mine. And we'll have to give him as much of a hard time as possible tomorrow. So that basically rounds out the judging panel. I will say, too, we didn't put our email addresses up here, which is not to discourage any one of you from reaching out to us during this event or after the event. One thing that I think some of you may remember about me from last year, I actually live in Syracuse, New York. I'm a little bit of a misnomer for that because I don't think anyone else at Deloitte lives here. So feel free, after this event to keep in touch with me personally. I'm very happy to meet with students on Fridays or weekends. I travel, obviously, for work, so not here during the week usually, but I'm really happy if people have questions about consulting, what it's like after Maxwell, any of those things, right? Happy to answer questions. And Robin can provide all of our contact information. Okay. Okay, so with that, any general questions? Okay, I think everyone's ready to get going. All right, so with that, Robin, do you want to maybe put up the slides on the team assignments and tell people where they're going to be working from?
Great. So these are the teams that we have already pre-designated. If you have any trouble seeing it, just let us know. And you have name tags in the back here, which are also color-coded on the back with your team number. So after this, you'll go ahead, you'll find your team members, and then you have until 11 p.m. tonight to get working. Our team is going to be in 204B for the remainder of the day, and there will be pizza served tonight at 5 o'clock. So if you want to stop by, check in with us. That's when Jen and Kevin will be available to be clients and you can interview them. So just come hang out in 204. That's where the pizza will be. We'll be in 204B should you have any questions. And then tomorrow morning, I can just show you. So this is what the presentations are going to look like tomorrow. This is how we've kind of broken it up. So we're doing presentations simultaneously. One group is going to be in here, one group is going to be in 204B, and the judges are also going to be divided up too. So just make sure that you know what time your team is presenting, but it's probably best if everyone prepares, to go at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Breakfast will be served in 204 at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So feel free to come by, grab some breakfast, do some last minute teamwork and prep before we divide up to go into the separate rooms for the presentations. And again, the presentations are due to me tonight by 11 p.m. I will email this all out to you, so you'll have my information from my email, as well as it'll be in the first deck that you saw. And that's that. So does anyone have any questions about the logistics side of it? Okay.
One quick note too, because I failed to mention it earlier, about the interviews. So you're not going to interview us for an hour, so do not feel like you need to prepare an hour's worth of questions. Kevin and I are going to split up during that point, so we'll do double duty during that hour. We're going to limit interviews to 10 minutes. So you do need to prepare, for 10 minutes worth of questions, which frankly is probably not a whole lot, but actually very similar to what we would expect with like a fairly executive level client, maybe 15 minutes with someone like that. So it gives you some good exposure to what that's actually like. So we'll do that basically then between that hour of 5 and 6. So we can kind of take people on a rotating basis. People can eat some pizza, hang out, and then when you're done with that, you can go right back to working through the presentations. And same thing, with regard to the schedule for tomorrow morning, we actually really encourage you all, or if not require you all, to sit in while your peers are doing their presentations. I think it's obviously fair so that the people that go a little later don't get an extra hour of prep, but in addition, you learn a lot from seeing your peers present. I think it's also a great support network. You want to be supportive of all of your colleagues as they're presenting too. So we'll actually expect everyone to show up in one of the rooms at 9 o'clock and to sit there through the duration and support your colleagues. Make sense? Okay.
One quick question. With the interviewing, are you going to be together doing the interviews? Separate, okay.
We'll split up so we can get everyone through.
Okay, and you'll both have the same sets of information that you would be working with. Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. So again, these are your teams. So find your teammates, grab your name tags over there. You don't need to wear your name tags today, just tomorrow for your presentation. So.